Hi and welcome everyone to a fireside chat about taboo topics, a series of conversations where I invite people to speak about topics that I personally find are not enough talked about in our society. And today I have with me Dawn Beck, and we are going to speak about sexuality, tantra, sexual healing, all of these things that aren't enough talked about. Dawn, would you like to introduce yourself first, like who you are, what you do in this world?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Lisa. Thanks for this conversation. Such an important topics to visit with. So my name is Dawn Beck, and I live in Boulder, Colorado. I am a certified tantric educator and a Dakini, sacred sexual healer and awakener. I have a company called Tantric Sacred Journeys, and my beloved and I began our tantric journey together about 21 years ago and formed this company then about 21 years ago. And so I offer workshops, private coaching for women, couples, men, on my own, and also with my beloved Gerard, who's also a certified tantric educator.
Yeah, thank you. And would you like to explain maybe first of all what tantra is all about? I mean, many people have heard about it, and there are lots of stories, I believe, in people's heads, but like, what is it? Tell us, please.
Yeah, there's lots of definitions of tantra, and there's lots of misconceptions about the definition of tantra. Many people think that tantra, is very taboo. Many people think that tantra is only about sex. Many people think that tantra isn't about sex at all. Many people think that tantra is about, some ancient woofy-foofy kind of, only meditation and, the unreachable kind of enlightenment. I would say that Tantra is, at least the lineage of Tantra that I've studied and that I'm certified in, that I practice in my life and that I teach and guide, is a little bit of each of those elements. I'm certified through an organization called Source School of Tantra Yoga, and it is a neoclassical lineage of Tantra, meaning that it draws from the ancient, the 4,000-year-old Tantric Sanskrit studies that are based in the ancient, and it also combines them with the new, accessible for our busy lives. So that it really allows people to practice in a way that is accessible. You don't have to live in an ashram. You don't have to practice you don't have to practice 24 hours a day, though I really feel that in my life, everything I engage in is tantric. One of the definitions of Tantra is expansion through awareness. So how do we become more aware of everything in our lives? Not just our sexual life, but inclusive of our sexuality and inclusive of how we engage with everything in our life, in our relationships with the people in our lives, our relationship with nature, our relationship with ourselves, first and foremost, our relationship with our senses. How do we engage in our senses, all of our senses, so that we can be present, we can be available, and we can be connected to ourselves and everything in our lives that we come in contact with, whether it's in a sensual, sexual arena or it's in a parent-child arena or a friendship arena? How do we really notice how we're showing up in our lives? So Tantra is about, Tantra is about everything, how we connect to everything.
And that's really deep. And I love this all-encompassing and kind of all-permeating view of it, because as you say, yes, it is kind of a practice, and you might have certain specific times where you intentionally practice it, but then there is life, and how do you bring it into every moment of your life? And like, I've done a yoga teacher training where that was also the key, like how, also as you said, how do you make it accessible for our modern world? Because many people believe we want to kind of bring back the old world and like live like they lived 4,000 years ago. No, we still love the technology and all the progress that we've made as a species, but we can incorporate this wisdom into our current times.
That's right.
And yeah, reconnect with ourselves. And I also believe that like Buddha, he reached enlightenment, yes, but after that it was still a process for him to tap into that every day, again and again. It's not like a one and done thing.
That's right. That's right. Life is a practice. Yoga is a practice. Tantra is a practice. It's a daily, just like in, traditional yoga, we practice on our mats, we practice our breathing, we practice our positions, our asanas. And then the real practice is, how do we take that off of our mat into our lives, right? How, when we are thrown off balance and out of presence, do we utilize the practices that we've been practicing to bring ourselves back into presence, back into balance? And the same is true with this tantric practice, is, in relationship with ourselves or in relationships with other. How do we, when we are thrown off balance, when we have a challenge, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, energetic, relationship challenge with ourselves or another, how do we utilize what we've been practicing to draw on? Okay, this is something I've been practicing now. How do I really utilize it in this moment when I'm not feeling it's simple, easy when we are in balance and in present.
Yeah.
But when we're thrown off of that balance, that's where the practice is. That's when we really get to notice, okay, how do I use that practice to bring myself back into balance, back into love, back into acceptance, back into trust of whether it's with ourselves or with another. That's where the practice really shows up. Or not, or not. If we haven't been practicing, then we notice, okay, I need to bring myself back into more practices because I'm not doing this as well or as easily as I'd like to.
Yeah, and also you hint at that, like not making it mean something about us or making us feel bad or beat ourselves up for not having practiced enough what our mind loves to do, but to be loving with ourselves. Always just, okay, slipped again back into the practice.
That's right. A good reminder of, okay, I'm noticing this, and now what do I choose to do about this? Do I, we have the capacity to be we have the natural inclination to be so hard on ourselves, right? We're our biggest judges, And so, how can we be that compassionate towards ourselves, just like we would to another? We're so much more compassionate towards others than we are towards ourselves. We tend to be. And so the reminder of being compassionate towards ourselves is a beautiful reminder, Lisa. You know, how do we come back to the gentle reminder of, yeah, this is a great reminder to be compassionate towards myself, and to remember and remind ourselves that, yeah, we all mess up. We all mess up, and we all have the opportunity to learn from that and do what we can do moving forward into more practice, more presence, more compassion, more love towards ourselves, so that that shines out to everyone else in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you already spoke about, like, especially drawing on this practice when there are times of challenge, and like coming back to our topic of sexuality or sexual healing, like a lot is out of balance in this world.
Yes, it is.
So like, what are especially women coming to you for or with, like, what do they experience? Why do they seek the healing arts of Tantra?
You know, a lot of women have had some kind of sexual trauma in their lives, whether and everywhere on the spectrum of the extremes of sexual, emotional, physical abuse, having said yes or nothing when they have wanted to say no, haven't been able to say no for numerous varieties of reasons. Everything from that extreme to just as profound and impactful as negative body image and not feeling worthy of love and companionship and being honored as a woman, as a goddess, or having had relationships where they haven't been held in honor, haven't been held in the sacredness of their femininity. Mm-hmm. And everywhere on that spectrum of having to work and plan and be confident and initiate and take care of themselves, their families, their partners, their children, their parents. You know, we as women in today's world have to wear so many hats, have to be so many things for so many people, and have lost some of, a little bit of, or a lot of it of the ability to just rest in our feminine nature, just be able to be receptive and yielding and vulnerable and feminine. You know, femininity has in some ways taken on the definition of weakness. And it's so the opposite. Mm-hmm. Femininity is powerful and freeing, and the ability to dance in the energy of the world. You know, the power of our femininity has been misguided in so many ways. And so women come to me, or come to my sweetheart and I, Gerard and I, so often trying to, with a desire to refine, what does femininity mean? For me, a woman will come and say, I have lost the definition of femininity. I don't even know what it is to be feminine anymore. I've put on so many masks as a woman and try to fit into so many boxes that I have lost the ability to even know what my femininity is. Sometimes it's around healing some trauma or experiences or beliefs around a woman's femininity. Sometimes it's around redefining, that redefinition of what does femininity even mean to me. It used to feel like this, and now I've kind of lost that. I've lost that thread. I don't really understand or know what femininity is. And sometimes it's about never having even located that thread. You know, I'm getting this image of, you know, when you're threading a needle and you're trying to find that little teeny itsy bitsy hole to put that thread through. Sometimes that hole is, where is it? I can't even find it. It's so teeny, it's so tiny, and it's so hidden that I can't even, some women will not even know where to find it. And so in my work, or in our work, we help women locate that definition for themselves, because it looks very many different ways for different women. It's not
That's what I wanted to say. I can totally hear that you mean this way of every woman decides for herself. And then we have again that power that you alluded to earlier. We have the power to choose what femininity means to us.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Yes. I just taught a workshop this past Saturday with a colleague. She's a psychotherapist. She's a licensed psychotherapist. She's taken some of mine and Gerard and I Tantra classes together, and she reached out about a year and a half ago, when both of us were only teaching virtually, and said, you know, I think it would be so amazing for the two of us, for she and I, to combine our Tantra psychotherapy and bridge the gap between Tantra and psychotherapy and offer a virtual class for women, which we did last year. And it was a beautiful combination of all of the, not all, but a lot, some of the pieces of how psychotherapy can be healing and awakening and discovery producing for a woman discovering her femininity, and how Tantra can be. And we had a beautiful virtual workshop about a year ago. And then this past Saturday, we taught an in-person workshop for women. And we had 10 women who were just delightfully awakened by this blend of Tantra and psychotherapy. And we led these women in practices. It was called Exploring the Fabric of the Feminine. And that's what it was about. It was exploring the different fabrics of how, as women, we can find, explore, and celebrate our femininity. Right? Yeah. And there's so many different fabrics to our feminine nature. It's not just one fabric, right? There is silk, and there is wool, and there is cotton, and there is all the different fabrics of how we can find and celebrate and explore and celebrate the many fabrics that create our feminine nature, not looking the same way for every woman.
I've got a question, and especially since you hint at your friend as being a psychotherapist, how trauma informed would you say Tantra is? Because obviously many of us, if not all of us, have been traumatized in some way, shape, or form. Some not so much, but definitely had their experiences. And like I imagine it can be a very where you have to treat carefully to
Mhm.
not like re-traumatize or anything, but find ways to heal from what has happened.
Yeah, so there are different techniques and different practices that really help someone locate trauma in their physical bodies and release trauma in ways that are compassionate, slow, and respectful of where trauma can lie and how trauma can be released in safe and sacred ways. There's some specific massage techniques that can help both women and men find the trauma in their tissues. There's a technique, a practice called sacred. It's under the umbrella of sacred sexual healing and awakening, and it speaks to tissues in our bodies where, in this lineage of Tantra, it has been discovered that trauma can, we know that trauma resides in our tissues, right? We know that trauma can reside in different parts of our bodies. In this lineage of Tantra, we pay attention to how and where trauma resides in our sacred, what's called our sacred spots. So for women, our sacred spot is inside of our sexual center, our second chakra, called our yoni in Tantra. And the word yoni is a Sanskrit word for those who may be listening today who do not know. Yoni means sacred space. So inside of a woman's vagina, inside of our sacred space, there is an area more commonly referred to as our G-spot. And in Tantra, it's referred to as our sacred spot. And inside of those tissues, which is the backside of our clitoris, it has been found that trauma can lodge itself. The beliefs, the memories, the experiences, the herstory of what a woman's life has experienced, combined with the history of all, or the herstory of all women. Yeah. The magnitude of what women have experienced through time can reside in those tissues. And so there is a practice that can include going into that place in a woman's body, asking permission, always asking permission, always being invited in if a woman is ready to experience touch into that part of her body, either by herself, self-healing, or by a partner, a beloved, or by a friend, a Tantra buddy, or by a certified Daka, male sexual healer awakener, or Dakini, female sexual healer and awakener, to open the door to noticing what may be residing in those tissues. Never forcing, never going in with the intention of forcing anything to be noticed or forcing anything out of, but merely and powerfully an invitation to start to notice what may be stuck in those tissues that wants to be released, so that more space can be created for more love. How much love can, through love, always through love, never through. I was just reading this article this morning. It was on Facebook, and I can't remember who it was written by, but it was something about, healers don't heal. We don't heal as healer. We don't heal anyone. We just create a space for someone to heal themselves. We just hold space for someone to allow love in. And through love, and through touch, and through massage, and through lots of other practices, first involving breath and sound and meditation and coming into presence and noticing what may be what we're holding in our bodies, in our tissues, not just in our yonis, but in our heart, in every chakra, in our hearts, in our bellies, in our throat chakras. We work a lot. I work a lot with breath and sound, because the elements of breath and sound allow energy to move and allows us to release energy that we're holding that doesn't serve us, so that we can create more space for what we're wanting to bring into our lives.
Yeah, and I'm definitely on that line with, or like in line with that definition. The way I see myself is I provide the space, and I would even go so far as to say it's not even you doing the healing, but it's you creating the conditions so healing can happen on its own, because that's what our bodies naturally do. Like they strive for this healing space. And to me, healing means simply becoming more of who you actually are, like your truth.
Your truth that's already there. The truth is already there.
Exactly.
It's just offering someone the space, like you say, the sacred space, the safe space, the trusting space, the neutral space, so that someone can discover their own healing. Someone can discover who they truly already are, but has maybe been covered up, covered up by experiences, by beliefs, by not having that space held for them. And there's so many practices and so many techniques. The sacred sexual healing piece, the sacred spot massage piece, is a piece of it, but it's only a piece of it. There are so many other pieces.
Yeah, and I can definitely attest to that impact. I have started my own sexual healing journey earlier this year, and even though it was not specifically Tantra work that I did, it involved the so-called, or many people might even know it as a yoni massage, which at some point is also the question of massaging the G-spot. And it was just, I knew that trauma lives in our body, and I could feel so much release, even just being massaged like around, like the vulva and all the tissues, the groin, the places where, like all the places down there that we usually often don't even dare to touch ourselves.
That's right.
And I had so much release going on there. And I could really viscerally feel, like the second time we tried that, my husband did this for me. And the second time we tried, I didn't even have to release much, because there was already so much more openness happening. It was just phenomenal.
Yes, it's so beautiful, working with couples and teaching a woman's partner, whether it's a male partner or a female partner, because we also work with same-sex couples, doesn't matter the gender, to teach someone how to pay attention to a yoni, externally and internally, right? It's not all about internal. It's like you mentioned, vulva and pelvic bone and, our clitoral legs and our inner thighs and the parts of our pelvis that are often so ignored in sexual contact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are not taught that we need to pay attention to every place on a woman's body. And yes, her yoni and her pelvis and her labia and her clitoris, but also her belly and her heart and her heart pillows, her breasts, her heart pillows that are extensions.
I love that phrase.
Heart pillows, heart pillows, the extension of a woman's heart, right?
Yeah.
So often a woman's breasts have been taken from, have been taken from for someone's pleasure rather than held with love, held
or for
in
someone's food.
or for someone's food. That's right. Which, you know, beautiful. I mean, I breastfed my son till he was 2.5 years old. I gave that to my son happily and wanting to and lovingly.
Sure.
But so many women feel that their breasts have been just taken from and not given enough love and energy and held in reverence and held in compassion. You know, I really feel that could it be possible that if a woman's breasts, extensions of our hearts, were really held with love from ourselves, you know, just the way I'm holding my breast now, it's like often I'll just lie on my bed or lie in the sun or, you know, places where I can be topless or naked, especially in the sunshine or in water, and just hold my breasts and give my breasts love right from my own heart. You know, I teach women how to love their own extensions of their hearts and how a partner can love their partner's heart pillows. Might there be less breast cancer in the world?
Right.
If a woman's breasts were treated with love and reverence and honoring and tenderness. You know, not to say that there's lots of other ways that I enjoy my breasts being tended to. You know, as I become aroused, my nipples enjoy some extra stimulation, and there's a direct connection between our nipples and our clitoris. So, you know, if we can start slowly and we can arouse our nipples, arouse our breasts, our yoni starts to open. If we can arouse a woman's heart, going in through a woman's heart to arouse and open her yoni, you know, often a partner, you know, I'll use a man as an example. It doesn't have to be a man, but, you know, often a man will go straight for a woman's vagina, straight for a woman's yoni, and bypass this. If we can go in through here, with words of appreciation and gratitude, with touch, with eye gazing, you know, all these practices that I teach in Tantra, with really allowing a woman's heart to open so that her yoni can open, rather than going straight for a woman's yoni.
Yeah, and I want to add that, like I, for example, since starting that journey, I've bought myself these bras that like are nearly like no bras, just because I need something to hold it. Otherwise, I feel uncomfortable. But now I can like touch myself and like feel this good feeling. And like, as you said, giving that to ourselves first.
Yes.
Because I feel like that was definitely my experience, that like sexuality, pleasure, it was always for someone else. It was never just for pleasure's sake. And even just receiving this massage without the need to give back something, that was so hard to simply allow and to simply receive was so hard. And I had to train myself.
It's a practice. It's a practice for many, you know, many of the practices that we teach, that I teach and guide couples in, or as an, as an individual, but, you know, in a couple, giver and receiver. You know, we're used to giving and receiving at the same time. We're used to, if someone touches us and it feels good, we immediately want to touch back and give that person pleasure, right?
Reciprocate.
Yes, reciprocate. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like that's a bad thing to do. Lovemaking can certainly be reciprocal. And there is so much benefit for allowing ourselves to fully sink into just receiving. Like you're saying, Lisa, it takes some practice. Usually there's a bit of a disconnect and a resistance to allowing ourselves to just receive a massage, just receive touch, a full body massage from our beloved, you know, without giving anything back. Am I worthy enough to just receive? And we often come up against those blocks of, no, I'm not worthy enough. I need to give something back in order to be, you know, in order to be worthy, I need to give something back. And what I remind people is, okay, when you come up against that block, take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. Relax your jaw. Let some sound out of your throat chakra and invite yourself to receive even more. Letting go a little bit of that resistance to receiving.
Yeah.
And that mantra of, I am worthy. I am worthy of receiving love. I am worthy of receiving touch. I am worthy of allowing myself to be in my feminine nature of receptivity. So powerful. Challenging sometimes. And just those little breakthroughs of one breath at a time. Yes, I'm worthy of receiving love. Yes, I'm worthy of receiving touch.
As I often like to say, I mean, women and menstruators are like first of all human beings are cyclical beings, but women and menstruators have this extra cycle, be it the menstrual cycle or the moon cycle when we've crossed the threshold to menopause. But a cycle is only regenerative if you allow every phase to happen. And the feminine aspects that you mentioned today in this conversation are the one of rest, of letting go of beliefs and misconceptions and allowing to receive. And only that makes the whole cycle regenerative. Because then you have the energy to give from overflow, give from an open heart. And the other one will love to receive that so much more than if you give from an empty cup.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so the importance of practicing receiving so that you're filling your cup. You're filling your cup. And then when you do give, we have so much more to give when we allow ourselves to receive, so that we are giving from a place of fullness. We're giving from a place of excess rather than from a place of scarcity, rather than from a place of depletion. And so many women that come to me or come to us for workshops or for private sessions are in states of depletion and scarcity. They are empty vessels. I've given to so much. I've given to my job. I've given to my home. I've given to my family. I've given to my friends. I've given to my pets. I've given, and I'm empty. I have nothing left to give. And so filling up is the place to start. Filling up and receiving is the place to start.
And something else that just crossed my mind there is like, we have talked about holding space for people for the healing, and that in itself too is receptive, because you realize you don't have to do anything. Simply being there and holding that space is enough. And if we practice that in our daily lives with our children, with our partners, with our friends, not trying to immediately change and fix anything, not only do we relax, but we see the resources in the other person rise to the surface.
That's right. That's right. Because giving and receiving, they weave into each other. As a giver, we are receiving. We're receiving the gift of someone allowing us to give to them. And it's a beautiful point that you make. If we can give from a relaxed space, from a space that we're not trying to fix something, we don't deplete ourselves. As a tantrika and as a dakini, if I were giving from a place of force or trying to fix something or trying to make something happen, I would be very depleted. I could be very depleted, but I leave my workshops or my sessions feeling energized.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm feeling a little tired prior to, what I notice is that when I hold space in a relaxed way, like you're describing, not trying to fix anything, it gives me energy. I'm more
Yes.
energized than when I started. And it's a beautiful reminder. Yeah.
I sometimes joke that me coaching people is selfish because I do it because it gives me energy and joy.
That's right. That's right. And it's something to remind couples of, and I do remind couples because often, they'll say, well, we don't have time to practice. We get home from work, we're both exhausted. And the person whose turn it is to give is like, I don't want to give. And I'll say, give it a try. Give it a try and notice how you may feel more energized afterwards, during and afterwards, than you felt prior to. If you can allow yourself to feel the pleasure in giving, like even with massage, can we allow ourselves to feel pleasure?
Yeah.
Pleasure in our hands, pleasure in our hearts, pleasure in our eyes, pleasure as we're giving massage to someone, so that we're not giving anything up. We're receiving the texture of someone's body. We're receiving the joy in watching them and witnessing them relax and receive from us. It is that cyclical experience of finding
the same
joy,
giving and receiving that you touched on earlier, which is like at the same time.
That's right. Even though it looks different in terms of the person who's receiving may not be touching back, may not be giving back, the energetic cycle is still happening. If we can allow it, and it's a learning process. It's a practice of noticing where those blocks are and how we don't allow that in. And what can we do as a giver? Again, I'll come back to breath and sound. They are the most important. They are two of the most important tools. As a giver, if I notice myself tensing when I'm giving to someone or trying to fix something or trying to do something, make something happen, what I'll remind myself of is, okay, come back into my body, into my presence. Take a deep breath. And let go of the tension that I'm holding so that I can be that empty vessel. I can be that present, relaxed space holder.
Oh my Dawn, I feel like we could go on talking for a while. It's really nourishing and enriching here. Do you have some, like, your message to the world as a kind of closure, the message to the people, the women, the men, all genders out there?
Yeah, to all genders out there, we didn't talk about men's healing today, and men have so much to heal as well. And men, have been taught, just like us as women, men have been taught different, but just as constrictive ways of being in their masculine and their feminine, because as women and men, in whatever gendered body we are, we have masculine, we have feminine. So that's a whole other topic, but I just want to mention that, for men out there, there are ways to also come into your healthy masculine and your healthy feminine and learn or relearn ways to really tap into your own hearts and your own sexual energy and your own sensual energy, and to let go of so many of the taught ways that you're supposed to be, and you don't have to be. You can be so balanced and so healthy and so genuine in how you connect to yourself, to your own self-loving, to your own self-pleasuring, and to how you connect with others in your life. So from there, I guess my message is that we have all been taught or not taught about sensual, sexual energy, and that we all deserve to learn or relearn ways to really be in our authentic feminine, in our authentic masculine, in relationship, first and foremost with ourselves, to find, to learn, to discover, to experience, and to celebrate our own sensual, sexual energy as our life force energy, as the place in us that can be so deeply connected to each and every one of our hearts, each and every one of our powers and confidences, each and every one of our sensual and sexual centers, so that we can dance in our lives in this creative life force energy, feeling our pleasure, acknowledging our pleasure, and celebrating our pleasure and our joy with ourselves and with the world. And if we can truly connect to that, if every human being could truly connect to that, what a peaceful, joyful, loving, exceptional world it would be.
Let's
That's
keep
my
up
message.
our work to get there.
Yeah. And the work can be challenging sometimes as we discover that for ourselves. And often we have to move through those challenges in order to find the space, in order to find the joy and celebrate in that joy. And the work can also be pleasurable. You know, we can heal and awaken through joy and pleasure just as much as we can heal and awaken through process. Process is often necessary, but it can be balanced with joy and pleasure. And it doesn't all have to be hard. There can be easeful places. And that's what in my offering to the world, I really focus on the balance of both. I really focus on inviting people into their joy and into their pleasure and into their hearts. Yeah.
And while you're at it, so if people would like to get in touch or just find out a bit more about what you're offering, where can they find you, or how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so they can find me from my website. It's www.tantric, TANTRIC, sacred, SACRED, journeys, JOURNEYS.com, tantricsacredjourneys.com. And
I will definitely link that in the show notes.
Thank you. And people can contact me. I offer a 20-minute complimentary discovery phone call or Zoom call. Someone can email me or text me, and we could schedule that complimentary information discovery call to see what's possible for you. I work virtually, I work in person, I work on my own, I work with my sweet beloved of 24 years, Gerard, together and separately. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dawn, for having been here today and for having this really rich conversation.
You're so welcome, Lisa. Thank you for all you offer the world and for inviting me into this conversation, and sending you lots of love and lots of blessings.
Thank you. Lots of love to everyone listening, and speak soon. Bye.
Bye.